1, go back 1 to move forward, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Run the function again, 2 goes back to 1, move forward to 3. 3 goes back to 2, 5. 5 goes back to 3, 8. 8 goes back, y'all follow this, right? Simple pattern. Now that's a mathematical function, the pattern that we're using. And what that looks like is literally this right here. This is how the spiral is created. I'll show you what that looks like. So right here in this little small space is a 1 square right here, 1. And then if you put a 1 square right next to it, then you've made 2 length, yeah? So then we do a 2 square right here, but that 2 plus that 1 makes a 3. And that 3 plus that 2 makes a 5. That 5 plus that 3 makes an 8. Y'all see how it's going, right? 8 plus 13. And so then if you just draw lines, you can draw straight lines, but we're not a straight people, so we're curving it. That's how you get the spirals that you see. Let me just pull some up real quick. All over nature, right? We see these spirals everywhere, including if you curl your finger right now, it's the exact same spiral that you see all over the place. So this is Sankofa. Now look at the symbols for Sankofa and tell me our ancestors didn't know exactly what they meant. You can't think this is a coincidence, right? You can't think that they came up with the thing that says go back and fetch it to move forward. They used the symbol for the spiral and it actually creates a spiral. You can't think that was accidental, right? Y'all know this is scientific? Y'all know this is what our ancestors talked about? If you go now on YouTube, you can Google, now that the house cats have these really fancy computers that can think like our brains can think without the computers, they have been able to map Adinkra symbols. And they have found out that Adinkra symbols are high processing mathematical functions. Every single one of them. Every single one of them in a visual way. These are like, yeah, 2-dimensional, but they represent dynamic things in motion. So if you care to see what our Adinkra symbols were really talking about, go online, type in like mathematics of Adinkra symbols. It's a YouTube channel, you'll find some stuff about it that will show you how all the Adinkra symbols literally mean some mathematical force. And when you're looking at African symbols on clothing, there's usually, I'm about to see what we got over here. Usually there's some mathematics, like even with these, we got triangles here. You know what I'm saying? That our ancestors always are using mathematics in all of their stuff. Here's how you build that in both directions. So I showed you the 1, and then the 1 and the 1, 1 and 2, but you can also do that in reverse. So if you've got a square, what you do is you cut it in half. How do you cut it in half? You can draw a diagonal from here to here, and one from there to there, right? And then right in the middle, if you draw a line straight down, that gives you the half. Now, if you draw a line from there up to the corner, and then that line that you make, you take it from here and just let it lay flat, that gives you this length. Did y'all follow that? Say no if no. You've got a square. If I cut an X, that gives me the center point, right? So if I take that center point and draw a line straight down to the bottom line, and then if I draw a line from where that is, so that's the middle of this line, up to the corner, that creates a line, right? If I take that line and instead of having it go up here, I have it like fall down, like it's like a piece of wooden board, and I let it go, then it goes. So now from here to here is that same length from here to here. Y'all follow what I'm saying? Okay. So then when we say this new length that's created, we call it that B. The original square was A. So A plus B is our new line. Now here's what I'm talking about. Here's why I needed to make sure y'all understand why I'm saying that. It's a mathematical formula. The ratio of B to A is the same as the ratio of A to AB. Cool. I see y'all are not impressed. Nobody jumped up and said, "You saved me, Joshua. I can go home and get free now." Thank you. So for now, just take that as truth, and I'll show y'all what that means in a second. But once you do that, what's created is another rectangle that exists in that same thing if I create a square here, like this. And then it gives me the same proportion. I create a square there, a square there, a square there, a square there. So I can reverse engineer this process is what I'm telling you. Instead of starting from the small and going to the large, I can start from the large and go down to the small. Infinity in both directions, because you can keep going and 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 going forever. You can't keep going and going and going forever. Small, you'll get to 1 and it'll stop. But this is what's called phi, or they usually call it phi, which is really pronounced phi. But there's another number that does go to infinity. It's the true spiral. Actually, the true spiral is speed. It goes to forever in both directions. But this is called the golden rectangle, the golden spiral. Now the 5, one of those numbers in the Sankofa series, right there, boom, 5. It's a special number because it is fractal. Y'all know what fractal means? It's like fractions, right? And we already talked about ratios, which are fractions and all these things. So look, the 5 basically has those proportions I just told you about, that A to B and the B to AB. Remember that part, right? So those proportions are built into how a pentagram is made automatically. Every time, if you draw a pentagram properly, it automatically holds those. So the distance of, what is that, Q to P to, Q to A is the same as P to A to the whole thing. It's like to 10 to 10 to 10 to 10. Same like we were just looking at that. Same thing as I was saying, this length, A to B and AB, is the same with those lines there. It's inherent. Now what that means is that it looks like this fractally. It means you can go to infinity drawing pentagrams inside of 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 pentagrams, and its own math does it itself. But notice for one moment, you see the pentagon in the middle, like you got the big pentagram, and then it's got that middle shape, the pentagon. And the pentagon is upside down, and then the pentagram inside of it is upside down, right? I see that? And then the next one is right side up. And if you go in, it's upside down. So there's this flipping as it goes from yin to yang, to yin to yang, to male to female, to in to out, right? These things will all come clear to you. Now, again, I wanted you to see that these things are built in all around the universe, from the cosmic scale to the weather, down to like the fetal position that we come out of, the flowers around us, the pine cones and pineapples are 2 of those going in opposite directions. So this stuff is everywhere. It's everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. It's even in the music. Now, are there any musicians in the building? I asked that. So if you know anything about music and the notes that work well together, there's a mathematical proportion. We talk about things like thirds and fifths, the 4th note. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I got one here. Do y'all? If I need to break down that side, I want to make sure it's clear because the music becomes very important, especially when we talk about the word, the power of word, God speaking and it creating things, and we talk about affirmations and mantras and all of these things. It's crucial to know what this math is doing. So I'm just pointing out that behind all of your intervals, there are ratios, relationships, it's mathematics. It's this to that, which goes back to this concept of these are relationships. So all of these circles are the same, but based on where certain circles are relating to each other, it creates a power dynamic. Like I was saying, if we've got 2 magnets, it creates that relationship of that force between it. So when you've got these different shapes of forces pressing at the same spot, it creates a different kind of dynamic. And so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about relationships, when we're talking about ratios, the mathematics of things. Here's the fractal, for those who don't really get what a fractal means. It means you take a very simple shape, and then you just keep doing that over and over and over and over. So if you look at this original shape right here, boom, 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 boom. That's our shape. And we're going to do that shape over and over and over. That's all we're going to do. Very simple. So then where this line is, we're going to make that whole thing this. So it's now that. And where this line is, we're going to make that line this whole thing. So it's that. Y'all follow what I'm saying? Every line now becomes a new version of the whole thing. So then you do the same thing. Each one of these lines now becomes the whole thing. And if you keep doing that, you get these recursive patterns. Can you hit that Fern fractal? You know what? Skip that one, because that gets a little crazy. But Africans been doing fractals. This is the layout of an African village from the top. So like this kind of like the families, and they all have a little sacred ritual space where the head of the family is in that middle space, and then in the space inside the middle is the head of the head of the head. You know what I mean? And just keep going head of the head of the head. So even down to the smallest, there's an ancestor village, our shrine. And even in the shrine, on the altar, they have a little tiny village. So it's fractal to infinity. This right here, if you just look, this is some African art. The fractal is a line that's then broken in the middle. So then the whole line gets broken, and then these 2 lines get broken, 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 broken. Which is the same way they got yin and yang, the I Ching. If anybody is familiar with the I Ching and how they do all of that kind of stuff, That's the process right there. As well, you can see we got fractals in the way. We just fly with fractals. You know what I mean? This is just what we do. It's literally built in. You can YouTube a guy named Ron Eglash who talks a lot about the fractal systems of Africa. And it's very specific because he thought it would just be, well, I guess indigenous people of the planet just do that. That's just something they do, like snails make tails. So he flew over mad villages, and only Africans do fractal villages. Only Africans do fractal villages. Think about what that means, man. It means that on the small scale and the large scale, it's the same thing. As above, so below. That's how we build, that's how we think. And so, and it goes in any direction that you want to go, whether you're going in, whether you're going left, whether you're going in every direction. Fractals are fractals. So here's looking at the sounds. I told y'all there are mathematical relationships. This is what they look like visually. It's pretty. This right here, where you at? That's the musical scale right there of an octave. So you see the C right there, the C right there. It's a spiral that gets you there. And it's regular intervals. This is all mathematics. So as the universe is creating, out of every one of those little concepts of those little lottery balls at the beginning of noon, every one has a spiraling energy coming out of it that's magnetic and electric, right? Such that when we get two together and those forces start to clash with each other, that's when we got that vesica piscis energy happening, right? And this describes relationships. These are what relationships look like. This is the circle of fifths. It's a visual thing, as well as mathematics and colors. So there's mathematics behind our music. There's mathematics behind our structures. There's mathematics behind the way that our cells divide and break it down. So let me get these two. Before you hit it, I wanted to bring together the concept of the pentagon connecting with the hexagon. The hexagon was that six-sided shape that we were getting out of the flower of life. The pentagon being what I was just showing y'all about what directs proportion. And the idea of proportion, think about how plants grow. They're mathematically numbered how to come out. The leaves on every stem comes out at a mathematically precise pot because it's trying to get the most sunshine for every single leaf. And if the leaves came out straight on top of each other, then eventually the leaves at the bottom wouldn't get sunshine, right? And even if we took two in the front, two in the back, and kept doing that, it would block the ones at the back. So the mathematics of doing it like this, pew, 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 allows me to then come back in between the ones I just did, right? And then on the top around and still in between the ones I just did. So it keeps giving me the in-between spaces. That's what the proportion is about, is to give everything its space to grow properly. If it's out of proportion, we say it's abnormal, it's mutated, it's something wrong, right? So it's important to understand these ideas of proportion. Hit these, I just want y'all to see visuals again. Start at the top. So this is all that stuff I just said. All of that kind of stuff. So here's the spiral coming out of the point of consciousness in both directions, yin and yang. Now this is taking it one step at a time, but imagine, like I said, at that 1 second that we call the Big Bang, at that 1 second where a tune comes in, all of this happens at once. This all happens at once. So we can watch it kind of unfold and see like, oh, okay, so it's the spiral that gives us the dimensions and the proportions to know where the next circle goes. So the spiral is giving the proportion of how close should these things be, how far apart should they be. The circle, the hexagon shape, is giving the structure so that it can then be in this wave pattern that allows the energies to create these dope patterns together. And this just goes on and on and on and on and on and on to infinity, right? So this is literally happening right now. This is how the universe exists. If it's outside of this, it's outside of Ma'at, so it can't even exist. This is what our ancestors mean when they say Ma'at, is that everything is balanced together mathematically on a microscopic level, so that fractally, when it comes into the physical, tangible level, it's still able to exist in balance. When you're off a little bit, can you ever fold paper airplanes when you're little? If you like fold it right in half, you try to line up your corners to make the line straight, right? Because if you did, it goes off a little bit. By the time you got down to the last fold, your plane might be looking like. So you want to get it precise so that it works right. So I'm saying, if you're trying to do this by compass, for example, which I've done, versus doing it on a computer, your compass lead will start to get dull. It'll start to do a little different circle than the first one. And so there will be this variance. but God don't have no variance. My aunt is precise all the time. And when it comes to understanding how our body is, it's the same body. Dr. Africa always says it ain't no human body 2.0. All right, we can get that one because that's just going to start taking us into those solids again, and then bring that other one up. There is no human body 2.0. Everything the human body can do, it has always been able to do. If you start putting bird food into us, we're not going to grow wings, right? If you put jet fuel into a car, it won't start flying all of a sudden. It's built to do what it's built to do. Whether you're using all of the options or not, it's still built to do what it's built to do. Come on, YouTube, with your interruptions, capitalisms. Extra, extra, extra. So, skip me in, you know what? Let me come over here for this, because I want you to watch the whole thing. I want y'all to see what this looks like real quick. This right here? Okay. So check this. This is actually multiplication he's showing. And I want y'all to see what multiplication looks like visually. I do a lot of math classes teaching children how to do math in different ways than they're taught in school. You can count on your fingers up to 1,023. You can do multiplication on your fingers perfectly. And I can show y'all some of that, but I like to look at very visual ways on how the math shows up. So he's showing the 2 times table on a circle. So 0 times 2, 0. Right? So he's going to start connecting the lines. 1 times 2. So he'll draw a line from 1 to 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So he'll draw that line. 3 times 2 is 6. So he's going to do that. I'm going to skip forward so we don't have to spend time watching that whole thing, because we know. All right, just watch how it goes, and you'll see the pattern. So y'all see a pattern came out of that, right? All right, and then that's the fractal. That's the fractal version. Hold on, I need y'all to see it.
That's right. Yeah.
So I thought it was keeping up with me when I was hitting it. All right, so this pattern is what you get on the basic level of saying 2 on a circle with 10 points around it. But then what they do is, instead of just saying 10, they start saying, what if it was 11? What if it was 12? What if it was 13? What if it was 14? But it's still 2 times, all of that. And watch the fractal expansion, how this shape will stay the same, but it'll keep getting more and more complex. So it's a simple shape. It's how God does things, real simple. And it just does it over and 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 over until it becomes super beautiful. Hey, man, I'm talking, bro. Go.
We get this guy here. And then
so this is, okay, there we go. So he's adding in other numbers now, but you'll see it stays symmetric, and you'll see it keeps that essential shape. So out of straight lines, we ended up getting this curved looking pattern. This is divinity. So you can do that with different numbers as well. I want you to see what this looks like. If you have a circle, 2 circles together like we was looking at before, you just created. Y'all saw that, right? So 2 times 2 literally makes this shape. I mean, the 2 has this shape. Is what I'm trying to get y'all to see. The numbers really do have shapes in and of themselves. So then he does it with 3. That's Mandelbrot for anybody who's into that type of fractal math.
Okay, now.
So then with 3, it's the same situation.
And then I'll just,
so you see it's like 1 times 3, 2 times 3, and you add in more numbers, you end up with this shape, right? That. Now, he kept doing that with different things. He also said these shapes show up in your coffee cup. If your coffee cup is there and the sunlight hits it at a certain angle, this is an important thing to think about. When the sunlight hits it at a certain angle, and all these are just how the numbers look, we're going to jump. 20 just lets it ride out.
Bounce around, and you can just see this pattern here.
I'm just going to show y'all the progression. Because it's really, okay. 1. So that's Ra right there. That's 1. There's 2. There's 3. Now what he's doing is he's going incrementally. So it's 2.1, 2.2, 2.2 until 3 until it gets up to 3. These are all the steps in between the main numbers, the whole integers. Now I want you to look deep into it though. After a few of these, you're going to see all shapes start happening in the middle, and you're going to start to see this spiral happening right in the middle. And it's going to go this way, and then it's going to go back that way. Just like we were saying before, the yin and the yang. This is how the universe creates into infinity all the time. All right, y'all see this spiraling happening in the center? Watch it happen. So it's going that way. As soon as it hits it, it starts going the other way. in Tai Chi, we're doing the same thing. It's like you twirl it this way until it's naturally twirling that way. It's just Tai Chi. It's really simple stuff. But this is the beauty. So this is what started happening. The second all of those lottery balls fell into position in the flower of life, this started happening between all the circles together. I think that might be rapture for my Christian people. Okay, you can take it back. Because what that's showing us is that as this progresses, that there are certain patterns and shapes that come out, right? Our ancestors have mapped all of these things out and called them deities. They have mapped the relationships and made it so that we can use them and apply them. Where you go? Boom. So now let's bring it into like some real simple stuff. How many of y'all drink water? I ain't even see everybody's hand go. Soda drinkers. I ain't hating on you. So again, we said everything began in water. This water renewed in with Big Bang. They talk about it was like a gaseous liquid form. In the Christian Bible, it talks about the same. Like it all starts with water, which is a oxygen and 2 hydrogen, right? H2O, we've all heard that. Oxygen has a negative charge. Hydrogen has positive charge, right? In this water molecule. So what that does is creates the situation where all the negative goes to one side, that's that top of the red, and all the positive comes to the other side, right? So then, because of that, this little positive right here, when it's floating around, will want to connect with another negative somewhere. So that's how water connects one hydrogen to the other oxygen, one hydrogen to another oxygen, it's hydrogen to another oxygen, and they just pretty much just roll off onto the next one. They just rolling all around in that chaos thing we were talking about. But if you freeze water, y'all see that shape? That's the same thing I was looking at. The flower of life, this hexagonal shape. And you know, I'll put this one up here because it's more 3-dimensional. I don't want you to think flat. I put the flat one up there so you can see it right away, like, okay, there's this hexagon. But we got to think 3-dimensionally. So every time water is frozen, it goes into hexagon shapes. Unless something happens. So there's a scientist named Dr. Emoto, and he took pictures of water drops after they put vibration on it. How much of your body is water? Do you know? So I heard at the low 60 and at the high 90. Somewhere between 60 and 90, depending on how much water you drink throughout your entire life. I would say at least 60%, you're more than half water. We look very solid, but we're more than half water. And so think about what this means. He was talking to bottles of water. They were putting pictures, they were playing music, they were putting words, they would pray into it. They were just putting different vibrational frequencies into water. And then they would freeze it. And they would like freeze a drop at a time and then take a picture of what kind of crystals came out. So they were finding, first of all, they had this hexagonal shape to water when it froze. Of course, we all know that. We've seen snowflakes when we were little, we cut out the paper in half. It's so beautiful. The cool thing is that depending on what they said to it, it gave different manifestations. But if you did some ugly stuff to it, it wouldn't turn into hexagons at all. So if they were saying, so they would have a bottle of water, and you're like, you make me sick. I hate you. You make me sick. Like they ask me some water. I hate you. And that's what would happen. They played some heavy metal music, and that's what happened. They played all different kind of music. I guess it was putting the energy of Adolf Hitler onto that joint. That's what happened. Love and appreciation. I don't have the slides for it, but they also took water from a dam, like one of the local dams in Japan. Took pictures of it. It looked disgusting, like you would expect some old regular government water to look. And then they had some priests pray over it for a while. And then Reed took a picture, and it looked like this beautiful crystal, and right in the middle, it looked like somebody was praying. Seriously. You can look that one up. I meant to have it on here so you can see it, but they had really terrible images of it. But what that means is that this water that's in your body right now is affectable. So if somebody comes and gives you a compliment, how do you feel? You feel something like these. You feel beautiful. If somebody comes and say, "Oh, you make me sick, nigga, I'll fuck you up, bitch ass." You understand? This is what's happening to your water. I just watched a video of this woman dragging her child and beating him in school. And all I could think about was what was happening to his water and what was happening to his soul and his spirit, you know? And this is what's happening. And the more it's said into you, it builds up momentum, like that game of tetherball, until it takes shape. You know, it becomes a firmament inside of us because it's been in that pattern so much and so long that we start to walk around and we look like we make somebody sick. when we look sad, you can walk in a room and see somebody whose water has been denatured and destroyed and their energy has been taken down. So these are the type of things that you just, these are the types of things you should think about with your water, because we are water beings, not flesh beings, we're water beings. Think of yourself as a water being before anything else. I'm a water being, and so I have to care about my water. Now then, let's talk about my man Ra. I'm familiar with Ra. I'm Sa Ra, the sun in the sky. So this is the symbol the Egyptians used to do Ra. This is the symbol modern chemists and electric people use to say hydrogen. You can see that's the same thing, right? Let's look at the other symbol they use for Ra. This circle right here with this snake. How does a snake move? Like waves, like waves. Now, I want you to remember, we're not three-dimensional, so it's literally not going back and forth. It's in a spiral, right? It uses its muscles to kind of push up off the ground a little bit to push itself that way, right? And digs down a little bit. So it's not just going back and forth. It's spiraling like that. Y'all got what I'm saying? So when our ancestors used snakes, they were talking about the spiral motion of the universe. So they're saying there's this circle that's spiraling through the universe, creating light, which is what I've been showing y'all the mathematics of this whole time, which is what our bodies come into existence as. So I'm trying to repaint in your mind the fact that we are water and light first and foremost. If you can start there, then that changes your whole concept of health and what you should be doing with yourself. So then when we start talking about pH, which is potential hydrogen or potential Ra, if your potential Ra is high, I got a high potential of Ra. That means I can get more Ra in. You see what I'm saying? I can get more light, more creative spiraling power to come out of me versus less Ra. And what that means, if you go back to this shape, these all can separate. They can lose one hydrogen. And that hydrogen by itself is Ra, it's electric. And the O and the H by itself, they call that a hydroxyl. So you got a hydrogen and a hydroxyl, which is a positive joint and a negative joint. If you've got a lot of positive, that means you can take on more negative. If you've got a lot of negative, that means you can take on more positive or give away more negative. Maybe you've been around some acidic people. What does that mean? If you're acid, that means you've got a lot of extra negativity, electricity. You got a lot of extra hydrogen. So if somebody comes up, you just give them away like, hey, take some of this, take some of this, take some of this. That's acid. And so what is electricity? It's fire. So we know if we put acid on something, it burns it away, right? So if somebody's got a lot of extra negativity and you come around them and they start putting that on you, you start to feel like something, right? No, I need y'all to respond because I can't see y'all. Okay, I can't see all the lights. I told y'all my eyes ain't adjusted. So what I'm saying is your potential hydrogen. Do I have more potential for Ra, for God to come through, or do I have less potential for God to come through? Now, mind you, there are different organs in the body. Remember I said these are like instruments. And so if your organs are out of tune, if it's too alkaline or too pH, that's too sharp or too flat, all you have to do is tune it. So you don't need to cut the instrument out. You don't need to take it out of the band. You know, like this one guy's not playing with, like, hey, we got to kick him out of the band. No, you just need to tune his instrument. If you do that, then the whole band is good. You don't need to take instruments out of the band to get the band good. These are a bunch of foods. All foods have hydrogen in them. They'll either give up some electricity or they'll take some electricity. And that's really all potential hydrogen means is, does it have something to give? Does it have something to take? And it's both give and take. Some are giving positive, some are giving negative. If it's giving positive, then it's taking negative. That's alkaline. If it's giving negative, but it's taking positive, that's acid. So you got that one friend that you come around, you always the nice one, and they always got problems, they're the acid. They're taking all your positivity and giving you negativity in return. Y'all follow that, right? Y'all already know this stuff. I'm just bringing it all together out of the house cat mentality to the lions, because all of these are in different compartments of our brain. We got to pull it together to have a holistic concept of health. Even on a genetic level, these are called nucleobases. The bases make up the acids. The acids make up the bases. The yin makes the yang makes the yin. It's just spiraling. There's no good or bad in acid or alkaline. If your stomach is alkaline, you're going to die. People are always trying to get alkaline up, but your stomach is hydrochloric acid. It has to break things down. It has to tear stuff apart, so it has to be acid. So you want acid in there. It's like 1 to 4 is the acidity of the stomach. The urine and saliva is slightly acidic because the saliva starts to break down foods, as well as the urine should be putting out all of the excess minerals in your body. And so if you're putting minerals into water, that makes it an electrolyte that's acidic. It's the minerals, it's the metals that make a thing have a charge. Y'all following that, right? So the more of that you got, and on the outro, because I know my time is getting low, the last thing on water I want to point out is your blood pressure. I'm just trying to give y'all some simple things y'all hear all the time. You may not really know what that's talking about. So your pH is just how much Ra can you get in there? Is it already full of Ra and you've got some to give? Or is it Ra empty and it needs some more? Think like that when it comes to alkaline and acid, and you'll have it. Blood pressure, your systolic and your diastolic. Y'all heard these numbers over numbers? It says it real simple. The systolic is when it's like it, your heart goes. So when you're like, the most pressure is when it squeezes. Think about a tube, and think about a balloon for a second. You know, if you got a long balloon, if I blow into it, then it expands. And that's pretty much what your heart is doing. It pumps blood into the veins and the veins expand. If you're dehydrated and your veins and your arteries have lost elasticity, then when your blood pumps through, the veins can't expand properly. You can see how that's a problem, right? Yes or no? Yes. That gets hardened. When they say the plaque is hardening the walls of your arteries, that's the problem it causes, because they can't expand when the blood pumps, right? So that's a problem. If you've got high blood pressure, that means when your blood comes through and it pumps, it can't expand properly. So the pressure is way too high. It's like going to burst something somewhere, right? If it's too low, think about when your shower has low pressure. It's like not enough water coming through. So it's kind of like, if any of y'all ever use water hoses, I know we're in New York, you know, I got yards and stuff. But if you've ever seen a water hose on TV, if you turn the water way down, like a trickle will come out. But if you turn it up, then the whole opening. So low blood pressure is when you turn it down and it's not enough to fill the space. So that could cause a problem because it's a pressure-based system. If it's not enough pressure, then it won't go into the place it needs to go into. So both high and low blood pressure are problems. Too much acid, too much alkaline, anything out of balance, if the proportion, the relationship, the ratios aren't right. So again, we have this ratio, this relationship. So the 80, the lower number, is when you're chilling. It's at rest. It's when your heart is not pumping. It's in between. So it's like it goes poof, poof, poof. So if I had a balloon, it'd be like, so on the part, that's the top number. That's the most action. And on the rest, when I'm breathing in, that's the low. That's the yin, the yang, the move, the still. Everywhere you look in your body, you're going to see yin and yang. You're going to see acid and alkaline. If you can start to really conceptualize that and just know that it has a range it needs to be in, and if something is not right, you just need to bring it back in range. Simple ways, like it's all magnetism, it's all electricity. And so you got to just find what's your way to electrify yourself. I just showed y'all the colors have the frequency, music has the frequency, foods have the frequency. So a holistic healer is going to find out what works best for you. They're not going to just give you a one size fits all. They're going to find out what's your affinity, what's your learning style, what all of these different things are, what's your culture, what's your context. They're going to give you some readings to see what your body is doing and then just help you tune it up. That's really all you need. You don't need to cut stuff out. You don't need to poison anything. You don't need to give yourself chemicals to ignore that something is happening. You need to listen and say, what's out of tune? And when you find out which instrument is out of tune, all you need to do is tune it up. Sometimes, if one instrument gets out of tune and you leave it that way, the other instruments will try to compensate. They don't like to sound bad. So they'll start to adjust their sound too, to make that bad one sound good, and that's when you start getting system failure. And then that's when they start treating symptoms and not the core, the root. Y'all follow what I'm saying, right? So what I'm saying is you need to understand for yourself that there is a root, and that root is just something that's not in tune. It's just a matter of, is it too up or too down? Is it too in, too out, too hot, too cold, too dry, too wet? If you figure out that balance, you're good. I think that was all my slides. Wow. Questions asked? So yeah, if y'all do want to follow up with me, my website is joshuasarah.com. It's J-A instead of J-O, Joshua Sarah. You can find me on all of the platforms under Earth Ethiopian. And it's like Ethiopian, but spelled in Earth. If you can spell Ethiopian, you should be good to go. Ethiopian. I do massage therapy and holistic health consultations. Dr. Afra is who I got certified through many years back. And I also do a lot of math teaching for young people as well as adults. If y'all need some assistance with y'all students, especially if some of y'all are homeschooling because of the vaccine situation in New York now, come get with me. I'm set up over here at a table right next to where all the good food is. When you get the itis, get on the massage table after. So yeah, thank you. Shout out to King Simon for changing the world for the past 24 years in this beautifully brilliant way. I appreciate everything you've been doing for us as a community and a world. Ethiopia loves you.
Ethiopia loves me. Give him a round of applause. Give him Jashua Salah. Well-deserved round of applause. Right now, before we bring on Oracle and KT, we just want to bring up her sisters. She came here and she tore it up with the food, but she's just going to give us a few minutes and deal with certain things. Matter of fact, you can probably just ask her questions if you want. Get a quick 5-10 minute Q&A with her. But this sister here, I've known her for a good while, and she's been one of my business partners with the Stop Playing movement and doing what we had to do back in the day. We brought in Dr. Sabi, we brought in so many people, and then she had a blog talk that tore up the place, that just introduced a lot to, she's had Dick Gregory on it, Francis Cress Welton, she had Dr. Sabi, Dr. Blair, the Moors, Tariq, look, I can keep on going, but I want y'all to welcome right now the one who provided the food from Drop Squad Kitchen, the one and only Abundance Child! Give her a round of applause, give her a round of applause. What up?
Hey, King Simon. Everybody give King Simon a round of applause.
Don't let her roll out now.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm about to roll out for real. But yeah, I wanted to speak about health. These lights, though. I wanted to speak about health as generational wealth. Just really quick. We have a lot of lip service in our community. We have a lot of great people who have come before us and told us how we should eat clean, told us how we should eat, how we should sleep, how we should craft, everything, right? But we're not able to produce the commerce that we need to be, where we have real land ownership, for lack of a better word, because we really can't own land. And we don't have generational wealth amongst us. And wealth does not always have to be in fiat currency. Wealth could just be how we're producing our children, how we're educating them, the institutions that we have in our own families and in the communities that we serve. So that's what I like to speak about. And that's why I kind of left the blog talk radio. It was great, doing blog talk radio. It was popular. I was really popular. I had a lot of numbers. It was really cool having a Facebook page that was like hundreds of thousands of people, but I was still in the welfare line trying to get finance to pay for my 2 daughters. And I was like, I want out. I want out of this. I don't like being somewhere and everybody's like, oh my God, I'm on a show. I love your radio show. Do you actually know these people? That was cool. That did a lot for my self-esteem, but it really didn't do a lot for my self-esteem. So I had to figure out what my game was. And I call game godly ability to master everything. And to me, that's what true health is. True health is not, Dr. Jewel Pookrum actually speaks about this. True health is not just about, every single thing that you put in your body. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this, but she was like, you can eat pork and still be healthy, because it's the state of mind. It's how you are actually programming the food and the water that you eat and that you drink, right? So I actually believe that, because I do that with my food at Drop Squad Kitchen. But the point is that I found my game. And my game was, from a little girl, I was the only girl in my family, and I was forced to clean and cook and things like that. And I didn't know that I had a gift. It was just something that I did. I got pregnant early, had my oldest daughter at 19, and I realized that I had to make food. And then I was vegan since 1993, so all of my friends would be like, oh, can we eat your popcorn? Oh, can you make your spaghetti? Oh, can you make your cornbread? Oh, can you make your vegan this? And I just really slept on it, because this is what I had to do as a mother. But then, as I started growing and I started really getting involved in the conscious community and learning about more science and learning from Dr. Sabi, Dr. Leoka, Ma'a, Queen Afua, all these people, I started being a part of these platforms that King Simon had, and this is why I'm really here. And he opened up the doors for so many, and I would see people come in and we'd be vending food. And I would go home and I'd be like, I can make those fried mushrooms. I can make that kale salad. And I would actually literally be doing this and stepping my game up. I didn't realize this whole time that I was being conditioned and being prepared to honor my gift, which is a gift to work with food. I'm not saying that I'm the best in the world or anything like that, but it is truly a gift. It is something that God gave me. I didn't have to go to anybody's culinary art school. And where I'm going with this is that we all have gifts. We all have godly ability to master everything. Every single one of us have our own orrery, our own mind, our own connection to the Most High. And that is the thing that will help us to determine what our errand is on this earth. What is it that we need to do so we can fulfill the errand of our ancestors? So for me, it was like, you work well with food. You need to be working with food. If you do what I gave you in some way, shape, or form, and you use that, and you are disciplined, and now it becomes a talent. So now you're talented and gifted, then you will have the currency, and you won't have to be in the welfare line. You won't have to have a sugar daddy called the state and be applying for food stamps and things like that. You won't have to put your children, you don't have to worry about your children being vaccinated and stuff like that because you're going to homeschool. And you'll be able to do these types of things because you'll be able to provide for yourself. So that's what I call game, godly ability to master everything. And the only way you can find out your game is if you figure out what your health regimen is going to be. What is your spiritual health regimen going to be? What's your mental health regimen going to be? What's your physical health regimen going to be? Your mental health regimen for me was the people that I associated myself with. Not the people that I associate with online where, like I said, it was cool to be popular. It was cool to have all these shows. It was cool to have all these name brand people on my shows. And let me take Phil Valentine, for example. He will talk about how they're doing all types of things. And we need to be careful right now because this generation, these millennials, they're going to be able to see people on TV, same-sex people having, sex and kissing, and they're going to make people who are heterosexual feel like it's not normal. And they're going to be pushing this on us. They're going to be pushing all types of, there's this gender, there's more than one gender, more than two genders, all types of things. That's good information, but how do I apply that? There's a whole lot of, like I said, talking that we were doing, but I didn't necessarily know how to apply because we don't always have the predecessors in our families or in our community. So I had to figure out what my acquaintances were going to be. And that all had to stem around what is my gift. My gift is obviously you're able to turn plants to taste like chicken or to taste like ribs or take butternut squash and turn it into macaroni and cheese. That is something that the Most High gave me. Like I said, I didn't have to go to school for that, but it also changed up who I had around me because I didn't want to be in the welfare line. I wanted to continue to homeschool my children. I never wanted anybody to have to question that. I didn't report to the Department of Education. I didn't want anybody to be asking me about vaccines and all of that type of stuff. I don't live in New York where it's forced, but they're still going to get older one day and have to deal with those types of things. I didn't want anybody to have to question, where's their social security, where's their birth certificate? I don't want to have to use those instruments, so I have to keep using my gift so that I can work for myself, so that I can magnetize and draw people to me. So I went through all of that to say that all this information that we have, if we cannot apply it, it's not doing anything for us. That we have to find a way to be able to sustain ourselves in this day and age because all of our souls chose to be in this dimension on earth at this time, and that all of us are walking with our ancestors, all of us are walking with the deities, the Orisha or whatever, and that is nature, and we have to find a way to be able to fit in with that. So that's where your spiritual state of mind comes in. My physical state of mind comes in with, okay, I can eat really, really well, but I don't work out, I don't walk, I don't do anything. So you have to be doing something to keep, like the brother was saying, all your organs in tune so that they don't have to be overworking and things like that. So to me, if you can get all of those things, your spiritual, your mental, and your physical health in alignment and figure out what your game is, all of those things will start coming to you easily. Because if you figure out what your game is and you get disciplined and what that is, for me, it was the food. I literally had to work from the time I stopped Blog Talk Radio to now, like open to close. That's 11 a.m. to like 9:10 p.m. every day. No dates, no shopping, wearing these raggedy shoes, wearing the same dresses, the same clothes, the same earrings, over and over and over again so that I can say I own $1 million company, that the beefsteak alone made 6 figures last year. That fried chicken doubled that this year. That is something that I can say, and I can walk away and I can train other people. And I've done that because my game is so strong that I had to create an organization that I could not find for myself. A sister who's been molested, a sister who's been raped, a sister who's been in and out of organizations, and I thought I needed a healing from brothers, I needed healing from women. So I had to create an organization for women so that I can confide in women, so I can help train in these women and we could talk. And that these same women can help me teach home economics to other women so that we can run Drop Squad Kitchen, because women can run a kitchen. So that's why the organization for women runs that kitchen. And I know I'm sounding like I'm all around the place, but I'm really just trying to talk from my experience to say that this system works. It's game. Godly ability to master everything. It's being unapologetically healthy. It's being true to yourself. It's being true to your Ori. It's being true that you understand that you were put here for a reason, and that you might not remember when your spirit took that first breath and it disconnected from your higher self. You may not remember, but guaranteed, because there's this thing called egg bay, which are your heavenly mates, that everybody around here that's been around here, like Red Pill, Blue Pill, King Simon, all these people, we've been around each other for so long that we are meant to be around each other. There's a reason why we keep magnetizing each other. And we're supposed to be doing work with each other. Should we be sitting here in these lectures all the time? No. We need to be taking this information and go outside and, like, I literally, y'all need to be tasking your sister, Abundance Child, to get with Blue Pill to make sure his moss is that it's sold in Drop Squad Kitchen, just like we sell Nadra, who used to be selling her stuff at all King Simon events. I sell her sea moss and put it all in all of my smoothies, like the God smoothie, the mean green and stuff like that. I should be having his sea moss in all of the Drop Squad kitchens. I should have all of KT Arch Degrees and his wife's products in Drop Squad Kitchen. Why do I need to go to Whole Foods and get their herbs and resell them? I need to be having any merchandise from the people who are out here. If we're making real connections, if I come up, y'all should come up. And all of this came because I stopped trying to do what I wanted to do, and I did what the master had for me to do. I didn't want to work with food. I wanted to be on this mic. I wanted to just be having the dopest people, have the greatest minds online, and I wanted to be associated with them. That was really dope. That low self-esteem, I like to have that person, I like to have that type of popularity. But again, it wasn't creating sustainability, it wasn't creating generational wealth. So I task all of you to think about, what is your godly ability to master everything? What is the one thing that you have that you don't have to go to school for, that you don't have to train up on with anybody? What is the one thing that you have that